This episode is brought to you by Burn, the fitness company behind the Today Show approved Burn board. If I'm being honest, working out can be a real chore, especially as a new dad in desperate need of sleep and cardio. Burn is founded by NEPA native Jimmy T. Martin, and his Burn board offers a low-impact core and cardio experience unlike anything I've done before. They have hundreds of on-demand workouts that are great for beginners, seasoned athletes, and out-of-shape podcast hosts who love supporting small businesses. My wife and I use it pretty frequently throughout the week, and it's honestly a great way to burn a ton of calories without burning a ton of cash. Not to mention, it's a great tool for skiers, runners, wrestlers, and hockey players. Jimmy is offering all On the Stacks listeners 15% off when they use the code STACKS15. Visit theburn.com today to get 15% off your purchase with code STACKS15 at checkout. Again, that's theburn, THEBRRN.com to get 15% off your purchase with code STACKS15. It's time to get on board today with Burn. This episode is brought to you by Blue Door Financial. Blue Door Financial will help you save money and reduce taxes to live a fuller financial life. To learn more, visit Blue Door Financial online at BLUdoorfinancial.com. That's BLUdoorfinancial.com.
I think business is great in many respects, like for people going into it, because you gain wisdom. You're forced to do things that are extremely uncomfortable, have extremely uncomfortable conversations, put yourself in positions you normally wouldn't, and have to solve problems that you would never put yourself in the position of solving if you didn't have to. And through those experiences comes things like wisdom, which then allows you to be in a more comfortable position to do those things again in the future.
Oh yeah, whoa, look, they can never keep me down, I'm going, and if I ever fail, just know I'll go again. I never quit, cause I know that every loss may lead to another win. I'm going up.
Hi, I'm Bill Corcoran Jr. This is the On the Stacks podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Jordan Galasso, owner of Fit AF. What's up, podcast? Episode 114 of the On the Stacks podcast here in the Blue Door studio. Welcome to the show, Jordan. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Fit AF.
Yes.
What does that stand for?
Oh, God, that's a big question.
You're allowed to say it.
Yeah, it is fit as fuck. That was the plan initially. I had my chiropractor 5 years ago when I was thinking about starting the business, was like, yeah, you should think of something like controversial to name it.
Controversial.
Yeah.
I like this chiropractor already.
He was the man. And initially I was like, fuck yeah, foods. And I almost went with it. I almost filled out the paperwork, and then somebody was like, no, that's way too
it's a little aggressive.
That's too much. You have to dial it back a little bit.
Yeah.
So then Fit, I forget. I have two friends that both claim they came up with it. I forget which, I don't know. We had a few conversations. They were like, yeah, fuck yeah, foods, we can't do that. But, and we kind of went back and forth. And then out of that spurred
we
Fit
got the
AF.
subliminal.
Yes.
That's what they call it.
So,
yeah.
Fit as fuck, yes. But if you're not prepared for that, then it's fit and fresh. Fit as a fiddle.
Fit as a fiddle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Family friendly, in case it's a family friendly event.
Definitely.
Fit and fresh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So you're not from NEPA. Mm-hmm. You are a transplant here.
Yeah.
So where are you from and what brought you here?
Oh God, that's a big one, right?
Yeah. The big question.
Yeah. So I'm from Connecticut. I'm from a town called Cheshire, which is slightly north of New Haven. I was there until I was about 20 and then moved out here. I'm about to turn 30, so I've been here for 10 years. I moved here because I was getting in trouble. I was a naughty kid.
Troublemaker.
And truthfully for me, it was, using drugs and partying and things like that, which, I thought was the point of life at the time, to like have as much fun as possible and to like really just ring the bell of like pleasure as much as possible.
So what, like as a teenager?
Yeah, pretty much from 12. So I started, experimenting with things at 12, and then up till 20 that I finally stopped when I moved out here. Yeah, but it was weird too, because I as much as I did that a lot and different, when I was 16, I started getting really heavy into certain things, but I still, like, people ask me about the fitness stuff, and I got into fitness when I was 12. So simultaneously, as I was working out and like, eating certain things and doing all this research to figure out what was best. And like, really, I love the fitness aspect of everything. I was also just taking a bunch of drugs, and they both, clashed a little bit as you would assume.
Yeah,
but
definitely a little clashing there.
Oh yeah. I always had this, I think like this thought that, they would like,
balance each other out.
Yeah. That like maybe I wouldn't die because my heart was in really good shape. But anyways, so, childhood grew up, great family, everyone treated me well, but for some reason chose that path, and then decided it was not something that could continue without consequence, whether I went to jail for a while or killed myself, whatever it might be. So I moved out here, basically. I just got treatment and then ended up staying here, made friends, and then kind of planted my roots here.
So you said you did treatment, was it here in NEPA?
Yeah, I did. No. So Reading.
Okay.
Reading was a treatment center. I went there, and then there's a place in Hamlin I went to. Basically, so Reading was, your 30-day treatment. And then at the end of that 30 days, they go up to you and you're like, all right, are you ready? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, no. So then they send you to what they call post-care, which was another additional 3 months. I actually went to if anyone knows John Mulaney, I just saw him recently. He just went to the same rehab I went to. Fun fact.
So like what was it? You said it was drugs?
Yeah. Primarily heroin, and then methamphetamine toward the end.
So like what were you doing other something else, other drugs before the heroin that led to heroin?
Yes, and that's a good point. So most people don't jump right up to heroin.
I was gonna say, you don't just that's like level 10.
Yes. So you go up the level. So you start with, usually weed and marijuana, and then you're like, oh, this is cool, but maybe there's something better. And then you might go to the hallucinogens or like the prescriptive narcotics and stuff like that. And then once you get tired of tripping in the woods and eating a bunch of Xanax, then you find heroin, methamphetamine. Some people, it's booze, but usually a lot of people land there. And then that's the end of the journey because they either die or they get arrested and go to jail for a long time, or they get treatment and stop.
So what was it for you? Like what was the moment in your life that you're like, I'm gonna maybe get some help here?
So it's funny because I kind of alluded to it before, but it actually didn't happen until I was in treatment. So my parents, basically, I was living with my parents at the time, and they were like, yeah, either get out of the house. And this, I was constantly not living at home, and then I would come back and then they'd kick me out again. But they were finally like, dude, we've had enough.
Get your shit together.
Yeah. And my initial plan was to stay with friends. I was like, all right, screw you guys. I'm going to go stay with my friends. And then my friends didn't want me there. And that's when I was like, fuck you guys. But then a couple weeks later, so whatever, I ended up going to treatment. And then I was like, maybe this lifestyle isn't maintainable. Maybe it's not ideal. Maybe there's something better. And that thought almost propelled me forward. That thought of a lot of people don't use drugs and they seem happy. So maybe there's something to that. I don't get it, but maybe there's something to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was it? How long have you been sober?
So I moved out here, pretty much when I moved out here, I was 21. So about 9 years. But it looks like this. So I spent the first 6 years completely sober, and then we can go into this or not. But the past 3 years, I introduced psychedelics for various reasons. And that's not something that I recommend to people who are sober by any means. But for me, it has helped in numerous ways. And initially it was microdosing. I went to Indonesia and ended up doing a plant ceremony there, which, a plant, it
what
sounds...
What is that? What does that mean?
It's a highbrow way of saying you went into the woods with somebody you didn't know and took drugs. But it's actually not. I say that tongue in cheek. So basically you usually consume a substance. So ayahuasca is the normal one. We ended up doing, and it was just by story. I didn't actually go into Indonesia for this. It was a business conference. Just met a bunch of cool people there, and it ended up happening. But we consumed DMT in an edible form and psilocybin. So it was basically a chocolate with both of those compounds, and you basically go through these rituals. There was a shaman there, this girl Comet. She was absolutely gorgeous. She had all white on. She looked like literally just what an angel would look like in person.
So did she actually look like this like before you were sober? Or
So, so yes.
I need a little clarification here.
Yes.
Okay,
So before all of the
Okay.
things were consumed, yes.
Okay. All right. Good to know.
It was a very interesting experience. So basically, yeah, you consume it, you go through a few different rituals, you kind of go off. So we were in like basically the rainforest. Fucking phenomenal. I mean, so I was Bali, Indonesia, which is just a beautiful place. And then we all come together at the end and kind of like basically talk about the experience, stuff like that. So the whole idea is that you're reintegrating whatever happened in a way so to make it productive. So it's not just like, oh, let's go take drugs. It's like, okay, let's expand the site of things we normally see within ourselves, and then discuss later. Anyways, that sounds like, I don't like how I worded that, but
So what is microdosing though? You mentioned microdosing, and I'm not really familiar.
Yeah.
When I told a couple people that you were coming on, and I mentioned a little bit of this to a couple other people, and they're like, oh yeah, and so I know a little bit, but I want to know.
Sure.
I want to know from
and
you.
let me, I have to state, so we went, the first part of this podcast, we went right into the drug stuff, and there's a lot more to me than this.
Yes,
So,
which we're going to get to.
Yeah. Microdosing is taking a small, imperceptible amount of really anything, but generally a psychedelic such as LSD or psilocybin mushrooms. And the aim is a couple different things. So LSD, you might take, so a microdose is like 5 nanograms. So a hit of LSD is about 100 nanograms, just one hit. And if you really wanted to see things that you can't see normally, you would take 5 hits. So a microdose is maybe a 40th. I do about 2.5 nanograms, which is a 40th of a tab. Very, very small amount. And I've found it fantastic so I'm like kind of ADHD almost, like it's hard for me to focus. It's allowed me to focus, organize, plan better, and really just become very creative with what I do. You also it helps facilitate things like flow states, which are just incredible, and we could talk about that basically, where you just like lose track of time, and that's so you lose track of time. You're the sense of time kind of dilates, and you're so focused on what you're doing. Flow states are big in like action sports. Action sports have come a long way because they're such a strong facilitator of flow, because when you're going down a mountain on skis and you're going at however fast they go, 20, 30 miles an hour, like you need to be so focused on what you're doing or else you'll die. So being that present facilitates an experience of flow, which is, most people could recognize when they might have experienced this. Sometimes you get into a flow state when you're at work, you just get into a groove where you're like killing it, getting a bunch of stuff done. Athletes experience flow. Anyways, so it is very conducive for that.
So for you, like what do you do? Is there a specific activity, in your life that you do that it helps you do it?
So for me, it's guitar. And a principle of flow is that flow begets more flow. So if you get flow in some area, it'll help expand your ability to get it and say work. So for me, like working on the business, like it's not always, a lot of it's like, accounting and like handling staff and stuff like that. Like that stuff doesn't create flow naturally, but you can get into a rhythm where you're going throughout your day and, those tasks come up and there's still a lightness to them. So anyways, guitar is a big one for me. Exercise, running, and sometimes I skateboard, snowboard at times, but anything like that. And whenever somebody asks me like, oh, so how do I get into flow, and what activities should I do? Usually it's what are the things you enjoyed as a kid or a teenager that you no longer do anymore, and that stuff is huge from just like an overall life optimal, being at a certain amount of contentment. And I took a course on, like, it was a neuroscience course about a year ago on flow. It was very informative, but you need a certain amount of flow. I actually don't want to say need, but without a few minutes of flow on a daily or weekly basis, like, you'll be miserable. Truthfully, a lot of people aren't able to access that. And you can't access it on command. That's the other thing too.
that was my next question. How does one access the flow?
You can't. So the more you try to, the more you'll push it away.
You're going backwards.
Right. So it's got to happen. I mean, you lose yourself. So what happens is, so when you're in flow, there's certain statistics. You're 500% more productive. I forget all the other stuff, but a lot of times people think, wow, your brain you must be utilizing so much of your brain. And it's actually the opposite. Activity in the prefrontal cortex, the forebrain, which is a mammalian thing, and quite honestly, where a lot of our thinking and like overthinking comes from, all that chatter goes down and you're left with subconscious processing. So it's basically a lack of interference from the forebrain, which is a very common theme in other areas of things that cause issues or cause people, levels of unhappiness or whatever. Like, that forebrain is great in many respects. It's great for planning. It's kind of like the adult of the brain. But it also gets in the way a lot. So anyways, and the goal is not to we could say, when you're in flow, you're losing yourself. Yes. But again, you can't just do that. You can't say, all right, I'm going to not think about things and get into flow. Like, that doesn't work. You have to massage it, and then it just kind of happens when it happens. You probably experience it when you're talking to people.
Yeah.
Especially on the podcast.
Kind of just get in a zone. I'm going to call it getting in the zone, but
yes.
I guess you would call it flow.
Yes.
This is like a real scientific thing.
It is.
Right?
Yes. This guy, oh God, his name is crazy. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi was the first guy to establish it and gave flow its name. He actually just died a few months ago. But there's a guy, Stephen Kotler. So he's the one who I read a lot of his stuff where he talks about it. Stephen Kotler runs the Flow Research Institute. Basically, they just spend a lot of time and money on researching flow for reasons of like performance mainly. So sport performance, athletic performance, because when you're in these flow states, your output goes up, your ability to perform goes up, and your ability to take in and learn information also goes up. It's really like, so neurochemically, it's a lot of dopamine, which is a good thing. And we could even go into that, but
and just to clarify, so when you mentioned like the dosage, the dosage of LSD that you took,
right.
Like just for people that be like, oh my God, what's this guy doing? Like,
right.
It is, and I'll let you speak on it, but it's a very, very small, hence the name microdose.
Yes.
So you're not like tripping out over there crawling on the floor.
No.
Right?
Yeah. And you don't need that to get into flow. To a degree it helps, mainly because it helps bring about a sense of presence. So you can't get in flow when you're thinking of, other things. Like, it's literally just an intense sense of being present, which I even hate to say that because people hear that and they're like, oh God, that's like too woo woo. Yeah. But that's what it is.
Okay. And what about like in business? How has it helped you? Like, is there something in business too that kind of helped you?
Referring to the microdosing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's helpful for blind spots, among other things. So quite often it's easy to, as humans, not see where we're, I don't want to say wrong, but we can't always smell our own shit, if I had to put it eloquently. So, and a lot of times not being able to see that has consequences. Whether it's that you make the wrong decision or whatever it is. So it gives you another point. It helps you observe your behaviors from another point of view. And so, to go on this further, so taking these substances does not fix you. It does not just like cure you or make you be able to do this stuff. You have to have a strong intention of like, this is what I want to do.
Like something like you have to have a goal. You have to like something you want to achieve.
So even if I do a microdosing regimen, it is like that. It's not just like, oh, today feels like a good day to do it. No, it is very planned out. It's okay. For the next month, on every third day, I'm going to dose, 2.5 nanograms, and these are my metrics that I'm going to log. And at the end of this month, this is the goal of what I want to get out of it. And a lot of times it is things like, okay, I have this issue or this problem that I'm dealing with, and I can't figure out a way around it. And I'm going to make that, my sole focus for today. And sometimes I'll sit with it, and sometimes, it'll just kind of sit in the background. And there's a couple of cool things you could do if you want to, like, because the less we get stuck, the further we'll propel forward. Getting stuck, you can get stuck on anything, but a lot of times it has to do with your perceived notions of how things should be, or your attachments to things. And these things all cause us to get stuck. So that, what I just alluded to helps, but there's also things like I might journal or jog something down in a notebook before I go to bed, and kind of just let the, subconscious mind or whatever think about it, and then wake up, journal it again. And I've done that a few times and have gotten like great epiphanies from just planting that seed at night and then waking up the next day. And like that saved me a lot of time that I would have been like, running in circles, not being able to figure things out.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you give me an example? Like you said, like you had an epiphany. Like what was like something that you say like was an epiphany?
Oh God. Let me try to think of one and not like kind of allude to one. I mean, I can't think of anything concrete, but I feel like I could give a vague answer. I often get stuck with, I guess we could call it attachment. So attachments, and here I actually don't like that word either. But that's the thing. So when in business or doing anything, so obviously you want what you're doing to be successful. Or I shouldn't say obviously, but obviously I want Fit AF to do well. I am very close to it, and I want it to do well. That's okay. But if I'm overly focused on the outcome of Fit AF doing well, and I have, depending on what the intrinsic or extrinsic motivation on is for me wanting Fit AF to do well, it's going to create a ton of anxiety. So initially when I started the business, there was, I was naive, and it was like, oh, let's start a business and maybe, we'll do well and make money, and then, it'll be cool and people will be like, wow, good job, and all that stuff. And a lot of that stuff is like subconscious too. It's like, we desire things like recognition and praise. We might not think we're taking actions based on that, but oftentimes we are. Anyways, that's fine. Like, get into business to make money. Sure. The issue becomes extrinsic motivators like that often cause an uneasiness because you're afraid of not getting it. So initially when I started the business, I was always frantic and I was full of anxiety, and it wasn't enjoyable at all. And that was a blind spot for me, because it was kind of like, so why am I doing this? And if you asked me that, I would have been like, well, I do like working with people, and I like getting people healthier, and, I love cooking, and I love putting together food that tastes good and is healthy for them. And then, but underlying that was like, yeah, but like I was bullied in high school and I'm just trying to prove myself. You know what I mean? So that was the louder voice, even though it was very unconscious. And that was why I was so frantic. The process of growing the business it put me in the position to either get what I thought I wanted or not. And when I thought that I was going to lose that thing that I wanted, I would freak out. And when I thought that I was moving toward it, I would feel better. So I kind of went down another rabbit hole, but the point of that was those are blind spots that cause a lot of damage in people's lives, meaning people chase their entire lives. Like, I'm glad that I somewhat have realized this at an early point, because how many people are doing things, are efforting on a daily basis to get something that they think they want, which in reality is not going to satiate them to the degree that they think they will. And they will forever do that, striving to attain things. Sometimes they'll attain it, sometimes they won't. And then it'll be, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And then they'll die. And that is a very sad existence that scares the crap out of me. To constantly be in that hamster wheel of like attainment. And I think so like drugs impacted me in a way that helped me realize there is no sustained pleasure, right? So when you're doing drugs, when you're ingesting substances, let's make it a little more not as bad, but there's, you're doing it because you want to distract yourself from things you don't want to deal with. That's the primary reason people ingest substances. Yes, it feels good, but it feels good, and you're not thinking about all the things that make you anxious and depressed and stuff like that to a degree. That is actually, in my opinion, drugs alone, why a lot of people do a lot of things. A lot of what we do is in reaction to the fact that we are oftentimes unhappy, and we really just seek pleasure and to be moved away from pain, and we're not quite sure what's going to do it, so we try out a bunch of different things. I forgot the original question.
Well, you were talking about how it's just these distractions and kind of how you found like what really makes you happy. You were talking about your business. Yes. And how you thought you really loved helping people, and you thought like you really loved that. Right. Does that resonate?
So yeah. So if we go back to like when I started the business and I was miserable the whole time, it was because I was solely focused on extrinsic motivation. And I'll parallel this to weight loss, because I work with a lot of people trying to get them to lose weight. And one of the first things I have them do is answer to me, why do you want to lose weight? And usually they give me a few answers of, I want to look good for summer, or, I want to, fit in my wedding dress. All that's good, and that's fine. But you need a strong intrinsic drive, a strong why, because that's what carries you through. And oftentimes it's not obvious. So for me with the business, it's something I still work on. So I am infatuated with the idea of just call it mastery. So putting my full effort into something for no other reason than it makes me feel really good to apply myself to something. And that to me has been a quality within myself that I've been trying to grow, because it's not like it comes with no attachment in a sense, right? There's no like, well, I want to, gain mastery because, well, then people will be like, oh, sick, he's a master, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But no, because any of that comes with the downside of being afraid of not getting that. And to me, the purpose of, the business, the purpose of anything I do is to not create any more angst, or to not create any more problems than life already throws at you. And I don't want to call them problems, but we can't control what happens to us. We could just control our reaction to them. So as long as I'm doing my thing, as long as I don't really care too much about what happens, which is kind of my shtick of like, yes, I want FitAF to do well. I want all my relationships to be well. But in the same sense, like, I know that nothing's permanent. And if the business fails tomorrow, I will become very upset. Don't get me wrong. Very upset. But I also know that that's life. And not to turn this into like a whole like motivation talk shtick.
Yeah.
But it's very true. And that just kind of is how I am, or how I think about things, I guess.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about FitAF now. So,
okay.
All right. So take me back a little bit. When did you start the company? Why did you start it? Like, how did the whole thing begin?
So I did personal training and nutrition coaching for many years. Even before I moved here, I was doing it in Connecticut.
Yeah, you said you were into fitness at the young age of 12.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, mom was a dietitian. She was actually at Yale for a while. And so she gave me the little bit of spark to pursue it, I guess. So maybe I think 17, I got my first job, personal training, and that carried through. So I moved out here. I actually originally worked at, I took a job at Sears Warehouse, miserable, making $7.25 an hour, until I started on my own training people. I ended up working at a gym up in Scranton, Uno's. Did that for years, bounced around, did a lot of in-home stuff, etc. And eventually I had one client, Mark, who, good friend of mine. So I would train him. We'd spend tons of time in the gym. I'd give him, advice on what to eat and whatnot. And he wasn't able to lose weight. So that was his main thing. He was trying to lose weight. One day he saw me eating something I put together, probably, chicken, broccoli, rice, whatever it was.
The classic.
Yeah, the classic. And he's like, hey, you should make that for me. And I said, no. I wasn't really into the idea at the time. He's like, 30 a few bucks, you just make a little more than what you're used to. I said, sure. And I started doing it, and I made him pretty much initially, a few meals, and then I was making him like all his meals.
So you were like meal prepping.
Yeah, I was literally
him.
I was actually going to his house and cooking everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like personal chef status here.
Literally, yes.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then eventually a couple other people asked. So he started losing weight. He killed it. Like that was a missing piece. So then a few more people asked, and eventually I was like, hey, I have no idea what else to do. I don't want to count reps for the rest of my life. I don't want to work in a gym the rest of my life, but I don't really know what else I want to do. And anyways, that propelled me to think about starting the business, and then eventually starting the business. The issue with Mark and with everyone else, like why this is a thing, right? So it's like, clearly it's a convenient, we prepare food and deliver it to your house. Like that's convenient. Moreover, in terms of eating healthier, dieting, there's a few things. One, there's so much crap on the internet of like, do this, don't do that, eat this, don't eat that everyone's just very confused. And I get it. Like if this wasn't my world, like I wouldn't know what to do. I always relate it to investing. Like, I don't know, like just tell me, the best thing to invest in and I'll invest in it. Like that should be how easy it is, but it's not.
You're right,
you need
right.
context. That's with everything. So people just don't know what to eat. They don't have time. I mean, that's a big one, clearly. It's hard to eat healthy if you're eating out all the time, not because there's not healthy places to eat. Maybe from more of a weight loss perspective, it's hard to know what's in what you're eating, because even if it's the healthy place, like restaurants solely want to make their food taste good. What tastes good? Oils, butters, sugar.
All the bad stuff.
Yeah, all the bad stuff. And then the other point is some people just don't know how to cook. So all these things kind of combine, and it's true.
Yeah. So the convenience thing, I think, is a big...
Oh, yeah. So ultimately, it is a convenient... So we initially started marketing to like a fitness crowd, and we still do, but a lot of people use us. Like a majority of people just use us because they want healthy food ready to go to eat throughout the week. And it tastes pretty good. We have a big convenience market now, and I love it because I think we do a good job, especially if you look at our branding and stuff. Like we're not really too focused, and this could be observed as a bad thing, but we're not too focused on like, people that are at the gym 7 days a week. We're not too focused on, people who are, working out too much or not working out at all. Like our branding isn't,
you're kind of right down the middle.
Yeah. Our branding isn't too scary for either party. Like you're not gonna, like somebody who doesn't go to the gym, for example, wouldn't look at it and be like, oh my God, that's too intimidating, I can't eat that. Whereas somebody who's a gym rat wouldn't be like, wow, that looks like a prissy, the company I'm thinking of, like a nutraceutical meal, whatever. Nutrisystem.
Yeah, so you kind of appeal to both ends of the spectrum in terms of in terms of somebody's fitness level.
Yes. And ultimately, like, what is our food? It's food that I eat. That's like literally like what, and I don't create all of the recipes because I'm not an amazing chef. I could hold my own though, but the
chicken and rice specialty.
Yeah. The chicken and the rice specialty.
Yeah. That's the OG meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
The chefs and me will go back and forth on things. So like, I'm a stickler for quality, among other things. So like wild fish, I think farm raised fish is absolutely disgusting. Grass fed meats, I think, are definitely a little better than traditional grain fed. And then, I think the oil that is commonly used, things like canola and soy oil, are probably worse than we realize currently. There's some data on this, but it's not completely clear. But, we only use olive oil, coconut, etc. Anyways, that's what I like about like FitAF is a place where I can use to a degree my own creativity to be like, okay, I like all these things. But I also could eat like dirt and be fine with it. Like I don't, in the sense that I don't need like an extravagant meal all the time. So a lot of it is, okay, what are all the components of meals that I like, and how can we make this more suitable for people who are not me, who eat dirt? And that's what we do.
Wow. Yeah. So you got 3 different like levels here.
Yes.
Right. How does it work?
So if you were curious, basically, so everything's done online. We deliver once weekly. We deliver on a Sunday.
So deliver right to the house.
Yes, right to your house. It comes in an insulated tote bag.
Right here.
With ice and your meals, so you don't have to be home right away. Now that it's getting hotter out, though, we have grab your food within like an hour of us delivering it. But basically you would order online. So basically go to the website. You can subscribe, but you don't have to. And it's not like the subscription box isn't already checked. So you don't have to think we're going to
scamming, signing up for, can't cancel it.
Yeah. Just sending you food every week.
It's piling up. It's piling up at the front door.
You basically go to our website, fitafnutrition.com, and everything's somewhat clearly laid out. So you'll answer 2 questions. One is, what size meal do you want? We have 3 sizes, and it's something that not other companies do. And we were talking earlier about this, and like, I get why, because it's a logistical nightmare to have 3 sizes of, I think I was saying 120-ish meals. I think that's it, on an 8-week rotation. So every week the menu changes, because a lot of people use this week to week. They don't want to see the same things. So we have plenty of options. And going back to the sizes, there's lean, signature, and performance. Lean is the smaller, signature medium, performance large. And it's basically by calorie count. So lean, 300 to 400 calories, signature 500 to 600, performance 700 to 800. And within those are your variances of low carb or keto. We do paleo, vegan, not a whole lot of vegan. I get hate mail because of that. I do. And then
hate mail.
Yeah, gluten-free, dairy-free, all that stuff. And you don't, even if you're not into that stuff, like there's a key on the page. So if you are, following a ketogenic diet, there's just like a little, there will be a K on the meal, just so you know. But you certainly don't, if none of that matters to you, just get whatever sounds good. It's all going to be within that calorie range. So you answer what size you want and then how many meals you want. And I think we have a group like 4, 7, 10, 14, 21, but you could go above or below that to whichever degree you want. And then you pick your meals. And we have a pretty good variety of different proteins. I love like game. It's like the least, one of the least ordered meals is, we do wild boar. That's fairly popular. Bison's fairly popular, but whenever we do elk or venison, not as popular.
I'll take the elk.
Yeah, I think it's great. I freaking love it.
Yeah.
We have it's an elk, spicy elk hash. It's with like a hash of sweet potato, white potato. Anyway, it's very good. I'll bring you some soon.
Yeah, definitely. I need to get some of that elk.
Yeah. And that's a good example of like how this is me and I'm not everybody. Like I actually wrote, I had an email newsletter the other day of like, we're starting to do bone broth. And I wanted to make sure like, I love bone broth, but I also like dirt. So do you?
Yeah, do you like dirt too?
Yeah. So we cool? You like dirt?
Yeah.
Do you want, would you like bone broth on the menu? Would you like bone broth soups? And I posed that and I threw in I think we ran it once. It was a liver meatloaf that like nobody ordered. This was years ago, but it wasn't all liver. It was I don't know, 60% ground meat and then some liver.
No one wanted it, huh?
Yeah, no one wanted it. So I
you
wanted
were stuck eating it all.
Yeah, which was fine with me. But I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be another one of those with the bone broth. And we got good feedback. I guess bone broth is popular with people other than me.
Yeah. So who makes all this food?
So I help. And then I have a team. Our kitchen is maybe 13 or 14 people. And then
all cooking.
Another 7. Yes.
There's a lot of food.
Yeah, a lot going on. But I have a couple. All my staff is amazing. We thoroughly enjoy each other's company, and it really makes going into the weekend, which can be very stressful, a lot easier. And we started doing every year we'll do like team hikes and stuff like that. We're gonna go to we just went to Ricketts Glen. We're gonna go to Dorney Park soon. Anyways, great team. So. My main cooks are Ed, Eddie.
Ed and Eddie.
Yes, Ed and Eddie. And then a few others, Alyssa, Lacey, and Skylar. Shout out to you guys. Anyways, yeah.
Everyone's pitching in,
yes.
cooking.
And we're basically cooking Friday, Saturday, and then delivering Sunday. So we're doing close to 3,000 meals within 2 days, 2 very long days.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot of meals.
Yeah. And more, yes, but it's also 32 different meals, which makes it a little more complex, but we're always getting better.
As you said before, a logistical nightmare.
Yeah, 32 meals in 3 different sizes, which makes things like forecasting, ingredients, and being prepared just a little hairier. But then I have Eric, who is not in the kitchen, but he's kind of my logistics guy, who is phenomenal. We call him Yeti. He actually prefers to be called Yeti.
Yeti?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeti.
Yep.
And if you saw him, you would know why. He's a big, very pale skinned.
He's a Yeti.
Yeah, he's a Yeti. Yeah. Likes the cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, he's phenomenal with things like he's built, I don't know anything about databases or like coding stuff. He codes and like just makes everything beautiful, and all of our systems work with one another. It's a beautiful thing, but thankfully.
Yeah. So when did you, how long have you been in business?
5 years this summer.
So what was it like when you first started versus now?
Oh God, it was terrible.
When you first started?
Yeah. Yeah. No. No.
now.
Well, there's
3,000 meals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. So when I first started, like I said, you're like anxious, like, oh, is it going to work out? Like, what do? I have no idea what I'm doing. And then you slowly start to like grow your sea legs, and that anxiety starts to go down. And it was an exciting time. It still is. Like we're constantly innovating and expanding and looking at new things. And, but I try to, now I could remind myself more that it's exciting and not anxiety provoking, because both kind of feel the same, right? And it's more so the story of like, we're about to start, delivering to New Jersey. Like that's exciting, but I feel this thing in the pit of my stomach, and remembering again, like I said, that it is what it is, and as long as we do a good job of what we're doing, then that's all we can do. Yeah.
So like looking back to when you first started, talking about the whole anxiety thing, starting the business, right? Is it going to work? Like what would you either have done differently or said to your younger self?
I don't think anything I would have said wouldn't have done anything. Because when you're in that, as much as people are like, it'll all work out or whatever the hell people say to make you feel better, like you don't internalize it. It's really just more so it's the experience. So you gain wisdom through experience, and not to say I'm full of wisdom, but you do. So I think business is great in many respects, like for people going into it, because you gain wisdom. You're forced to do things that are extremely uncomfortable, have extremely uncomfortable conversations, put yourself in positions you normally wouldn't, and have to solve problems that you would never put yourself in the position of solving if you didn't have to. And through those experiences comes things like wisdom, which then allows you to be in a more comfortable position to do those things again in the future. And then you're constantly growing. Now it's like, now your problems are even bigger. The more you grow, you have even worse conversations, more uncomfortable situations, and you grow from those, and then you're on to the next.
Yeah. So did you say you guys are expanding to New Jersey?
Yeah. So we're looking at a couple different things. A courier service. We might start working with in New Jersey, who would basically handle our deliveries for us. We're also working on shipping as well, which is
another logistical nightmare.
Totally. Oh my God. Yeah. So many like variables and things that could go wrong. And yeah, we're very close though. The goal this year is to be fully in Philly, in Jersey.
Wow.
And if we ship, we'll have a 300-mile radius of shipping, which would be awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So
exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting.
Yeah.
So like, how did you grow the business? What are some things you did to, because it sounds like you've grown substantially in 5 years.
Yeah. Initially it was, I would go to gyms and I would set up a table and I would hand out samples and talk to people. And that was it. That's all I did for maybe the first year or two. And that actually was like huge. Like it got me clearly it got me in front of people. It got me, people saw me, they saw the business, they started to recognize the name more. That was huge. And now of course it's, we do a lot of social media marketing. We still do that. I still do that. We do events, we go to gyms, we go to races, things like that, hand out samples, talk to people. And yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else that was real. It was a lot of footwork.
Yeah.
Just doing a lot of that. And I'm
literally,
kind of, I lean toward being more of an introvert.
Yeah. So how did that work for you then?
It's one of those things again, like when you're put in that situation, like I would never do that unless I had the business to force me to do that. I saw this as being like, this is a necessity, suck it up and go do it. Whereas if I didn't have the business, I would never do that. And then I would have never gained the experience of having done that. Which is why, again, I think not that I think everyone should go into business, definitely not. But if you're thinking about it, it's definitely a great course in personal development in that respect.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little. Personal development. Like, what has it done for you?
Yeah. Let me illustrate one thing, because I think it actually seems to help people, and it would kind of give people insight of maybe my way of looking at things. So kind of going back to, we'll talk about the brain. And I'll say this in a way I'm not a neuroscientist, clearly, but I am very fascinated by neurochemistry, neuroanatomy, and things like that. So I alluded to before the prefrontal cortex, which is, we could call it the adult of the brain. And then we also have something called the limbic system. That's where your amygdala is. Hypothalamus, I believe, is also a part of it. The limbic system is the reptilian brain. So this is an older brain that we share in common with things like reptiles. And the limbic system is solely focused on moving toward pleasure and away from pain. Now, you have one system that wants to feel good and doesn't want to feel bad. And then you have the other system that wants to plan things and wants to help you achieve things. And, again, kind of like the adult of the brain. And there's a good metaphor that Dan and Chip Heath, these are two psychologists that wrote a book called Switch or Drive. I forget which one it was, but they came up with this metaphor. This whole dance between the limbic system that wants to feel good and the prefrontal cortex that, wants you to achieve goals and stuff is likened to a rider, a physical person riding on top of an elephant. Elephant being the limbic system that wants to feel good, rider being the person. What that basically means is the elephant, if the elephant wants to go one way, the elephant weighs 10,000 pounds. It's going to get what it wants. Where the rider might want to go the other way, but if it's not strong enough or if it can't motivate the elephant to go with it, the elephant's going to win. So, okay, so that might be a little ambiguous. What does that actually look like? Well, if you've ever dieted, for example, and you're in a room full of cookies or whatever treat you like, what is that experience like? Well, part of you is, saying, no, I'm not going to, eat any of these cookies. I'm dieting. Like, that would be stupid. And then the limbic system is saying, yeah, but you don't know these people. You're kind of uncomfortable, and it would feel so good if you could just eat a couple of those cookies. And you have this dance between the two. This is a huge, so again, and I often illustrate this to people in weight loss because I think it's a helpful way to view your own behaviors in a way of saying, why am I, I know I should be doing this, but I keep doing this. Okay, well, now I at least have some sort of context of what's going on. It's not because I'm, a terrible person. It's just these different components of the brain are, speaking to me differently. When we look at what brings us pleasure, what is pleasure? Pleasure is chemicals. Okay, so the reason I'm bringing this up, I think, is to sprinkle onto things we discussed earlier and to even go into things of like, why are people burnt out and why do people struggle with weight loss to begin with? Is it, and to go there, people don't struggle with weight loss because they don't know what to do. That you might think that, but in reality, like, there's plenty of information on what to do. There's a quote I like. It's, if information was power, there would be more billionaires with six packs. That was Derek Sivers. He made a business, CD Baby, in the 90s. Anyways, fantastic quote because it kind of explains this predicament of like people like people trying to lose weight. There's two components of weight loss. There's the strategy of what do I do? And then there's the psychology. And more people struggle with the psychology portion. The strategy is easy. You consume less energy than you expend. We could go into that if you want to, but the psychology is how do I get myself to consume less? It's difficult when, food is comfort.
Yes. What's the secret here?
Well, I'll get to it.
All right, here we go. Okay. All right. I'm skipping ahead here.
So strategies, you see things like, all the diets, right? Keto, paleo, all these things. All of them are fine, but they're just not necessary. Data has proved this over and over, but all of those things, all they do is help you get into a calorie deficit. In a ketogenic diet, you don't consume carbs. By not consuming carbs, you can stumble into a calorie deficit because you're omitting this entire food group. It's not that, your insulin levels were low because you're not consuming carbohydrate. And, if you're fasting, it's the same thing. It's not that because you didn't consume food between these window that you're going to be able to lose weight. It's simply that those constraints that you put on yourself got you to lose weight. And it's not a promise at all. Again, you might stumble and fall into it, which some people do. Downside of that is you don't learn anything. And then when you want to eat quote unquote normal again, you don't know what to do. You introduce carbs again, and then you gain the weight back because your portions are all out of whack. You're hungrier than you were because you just lost a bunch of weight, so you're more prone to storing fat and being hungrier. And then people gain weight back and they say, oh, I knew carbs were the devil, and they feel badly about themselves. And then they're back at square one again. So the answer is, well, at least in weight loss. So my strategy for the people I work with and that I promote is generally tracking to some degree. So again, if weight loss is an equation, it is, and I usually just had this like view of like, wow, Jordan, you just jumped around a shitload. Are we okay?
I think we're all right.
Okay.
I think so.
Weight loss is an equation. It is energy in versus energy out. And that's literally it. And I get that a lot of other things have been touted, carbohydrates or fasting are required, or dropping carbohydrates are required to lose weight. It's just not true. That was the carb insulin model for obesity, which has been proven wrong over and over again. Anyways, tracking. So if I know that I burn 3,000 calories a day, then if I consume 2,500 calories a day, I'm guaranteed to lose weight. That's a beautiful thing. But it takes understanding those two variables. So what I expend we, is a very good guess. So we can use calculators and equations to determine that, and that's our starting point. And then, okay, if again, 3,000 calories, cool, I'm going to stay below that. It works every time. There's no, if you're tracking, if you're consuming, certain amount of calories, certain macronutrients, you're going to find a macronutrient blend that works. You can't not be successful. Because at some point you're going to be in a calorie deficit. There's going to be a gap between the energy you're consuming versus the energy you're expending. And that's going to work in your favor, and your body's going to go into stored body fat to gain energy. Now, that's useful, but that's not easy for people. Okay, I have to track everything. Well, how do I do that? All this stuff. And that kind of goes into the psychology of things. So we have a nutrition coaching program, actually, which I rarely talk about for whatever reason. I think because the meals just take full. That it started with the meals, and we launched nutrition coaching a few years ago. I have multiple coaches that we work with people one-on-one. Anyways, part of that, you go through this course and there's a bunch of videos with yours truly. And a lot of the videos are explaining kind of what we're talking about now, kind of the science behind nutrition, how it works. But then there is some behavioral components too. One of the first things, like I said, is what is your why? And it goes in depth as to like, here's how to dig deep and really find it. And here's what you should be thinking about. And because the stronger you are on that why, the more you will be motivated to do the behaviors that will lead to your success. Because that's a tough thing, right? It's, again, the psychology component is, how do I get myself to do what I know will work? We know what works. 100% we know what works. But getting yourself to do it is the challenge, and nobody focuses on that. Everyone wants more information. They want, we know what works, but there's got to be another tip. There's got to be another 5-step plan.
Like a secret.
Yeah. What is it? And unfortunately, there is none. And that's like, I think the quicker people realize that, really with anything, anytime someone tells you, here's the 5-step plan to doing something, it's usually garbage. There might be some truth to it, but like, there's no 5-step plan to doing anything that's worthwhile. It's understanding a bit of context and knowing what you actually want, because once you know what you want, you will be motivated to do whatever is necessary to do it. I'm a firm believer that you get exactly what you want and nothing more. And if you don't have it, you just didn't want it enough. And people might look at that and be like, I've gotten pushback from that, but it's very, very true in my eyes. People people want to lose weight, but they're not losing weight. Well, and then I would say, you don't want it enough. And people say, well, that's, bullshit. Of course I want it. But it's often
this is like mind boggling right now.
Yeah. It requires a little bit of understanding within yourself. You might want to lose weight, but slightly more than your desire to lose weight is your desire to eat certain things when you're feeling certain ways. So eat when you're stressed or whatever, or whatever it might be. And it goes back to that pain versus pleasure thing. So if we take the analogy of the rider versus the elephant, kind of the secret to that is you have to motivate the elephant. The rider could pull on the reins all day because it knows it wants to lose weight. But if that elephant says, yeah, but I'm really kind of just unhappy and I just want to come home at the end of each day and eat this, and I don't really want to go to the gym every day, then that's just what's going to happen. And there's no 5-step plan to motivating the elephant. This is work one needs to do, which is basically, just looking in toward what one really wants. Like, do you really want to lose weight? Oftentimes, no. The idea of weight loss sounds good, but people don't really want it. And I'm not shaming anybody. Don't send me hate mail. Please.
Please no hate mail.
Yeah.
To me either.
Yeah, or Bill. Bill told me to say it.
Yeah.
But no, and I say that with like in a loving way of like, just dig a little, like if you're struggling with weight loss.
Yeah, really ask yourself why? What do you want out of it?
Yes. What are you doing that's getting in your way is a good question to ask, because that's often the place to look. And truthfully, kind of what I alluded to before is, if you're unhappy, it's a lot harder to lose weight. it's a lot harder to do a lot of things when you're unhappy. So sometimes figuring out where or why you feel stuck or not fulfilled is the foundational thing that'll propel your weight loss and life forward. Meaning, like, sometimes it's stuff like, I haven't talked to my boss, I feel like he treats me like shit and I haven't gotten a raise, whatever it is. And like that stuff just gets into other areas of our life in a way because we know we should do something about it and we don't. And it eats away at us and it makes us, seek pleasure because we're constantly in this state of emotional pain. In that state, it's hard to lose weight.
So these are kind of all barriers that are just, you're kind of putting up yourself.
Yes. And again, this, like, I get it might sound a little woo-woo or like I'm trying to play psychologist or anything, but it's fundamentally, I think, very true with many things. So, oh God, I want to throw in some neurochemistry, but I feel like I've already thrown in a lot of stuff.
Give me a couple quick facts.
All right. So if we explore this pain pleasure thing, what is that? Okay. So if we look at dopamine is a very fascinating chemical because it's not the chemical. Everyone thinks it's, something you get as a reward. Like, oh, I did drugs and I got a hit of dopamine. I mean, that's somewhat true. You get dopamine from anything, sex, being praised, whatever. But dopamine is more so a motivating molecule. It motivates you to go do something, and then yes, you get a hit. In the brain, you have, I'll try to make this simple. It is simple, but it's going to sound complex at first, and then I'll tie it all together. In the brain, you have phasic and tonic dopamine levels. And I always get the two confused. Phasic is this baseline dopamine, and that very much dictates your level of contentment at any given time. How much phasic dopamine is circulating. Then we have tonic. So tonic dopamine are the hits. These are the chases. These are the, hits of feeling good that we chase. And this is what I alluded to earlier, is oftentimes we chase these things nonstop. And we get these hits because we think that all these drops of pleasure are going to turn into an ocean of satisfaction, but it's never the case. And you realize that when you just look back in your life and you say, wow, I've spent the last 30 years chasing these drops of pleasure and I've really gotten nowhere. So here's the thing with how these two dopamine levels interplay. So every time you get that hit, you go above baseline. So you have your baseline level, you get a hit and you go above baseline, but then there's a subsequent decrease. So yes, you feel a little bit of joy, but oftentimes then there's a hangover effect. Moreover, the more you get those hits, the more the entire baseline, the phasic level of dopamine goes down. So this is the classic example of a drug addict. The more he pursues his drug, say, meth, he's getting huge. Meth is very active or promoting dopamine. So you're getting huge hits of dopamine. Every time you do that, you're decreasing your baseline. So you're becoming less discontented, less happy. And then what happens? You chase those things even more because you're even more unhappy. So you're looking for those hits again. And it's this vicious cycle. And what happens with that is you get a narrowing of all the things that give you pleasure. This is the extreme case of the drug addict, but this happens in less extreme cases too. The more you chase something and decrease your baseline level of dopamine, the narrower your field of enjoyment is. And that's big for a lot of people. So if we throw in weight loss, so a big thing I see is people who drink a lot at night. Maybe it just be a couple of beers, but they struggle to lose weight. Why is that? Is it because the beers have calories? Yeah, that's part of it. But more so, they're used to, they're seeking these hits. Beer is just a great way to get, a release, a distraction. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you can't sustain work without seeking pleasure, because you're so used to seeking pleasure and getting that reward, you won't be able to do anything that's really all that difficult or worthy, if you think about it, right? So dopamine makes effort feel good. Dopamine makes And this is in a good way. So dopamine of like, here's where like the flow state comes in. When you're in a flow state, there's a lot of dopamine going on. This is phasic though. You're not getting just one little hit. You're getting this nice little rise. And that's why when you're in a flow state, everything is easy. Like task switching is easy. You're not, getting stuck on things. You're banging out a bunch of work because this feeling of effort feels easy. Same with exercise.
How does somebody avoid that trap of, like you said, constantly with the dopamine going down your
right.
I don't know that word that you used.
Right.
Like it's kind of you go on that roller coaster ride, right?
Right.
So how does one kind of keep themselves like level?
All right.
I guess
so
is the best way.
And this is, I know your rule, but and I am not religious or spiritual or any of that, but in many spiritual texts, there's a fundamental, there's a commonality. They say it best in Buddhism, and that is desire is the root of unhappiness, and happiness is found in giving up desire. So this was 2,600 years ago that Buddha came up with that, but that is very on point with this. So desire, my desire for something. So maybe it's, I want to go into business to gain praise from other people, to be accepted, and they'll be like, wow, Jordan, good job, and I'll feel really good about it. So that desire, I'm chasing a peak. It's a long process, but I'm looking for that freaking high. Now, in looking for that high though, I'm basically saying I cannot be happy until I get that. There is literally a chemical profile that is a dip in dopamine when you do that. The more desires, and I'm going to move away from that word, the more insistencies you have that you get what you want or that life happens a certain way, the more you are making yourself prone to misery, right? If you apply that to most things in your life, anytime you've been unhappy, it's oftentimes because things didn't go your way, you didn't get what you want, or you lost something that you had. So within those insistencies, and this is like, so some people then will say, okay, I'm going to give up desires. You could do that. So if I give up desires, I can give up my desire to, my attraction toward women, or I'm going to give up sex. If I renounce it, then I just become a horny celibate. So if renouncing something is just giving it power as well. So you can't just forcefully say, okay, I'm not going to get pleasure from this anymore. Okay, I get the rule now. I know how dopamine works. I'm just, I'm smarter than that. No, your brain is always one step ahead of you. So, and that goes into, okay, because now you're desiring not the desire, which is ultimately a desire in itself.
This is a desire inception.
Yes. And it is. And this is in people in Buddhism, like often get to this precipice of like, okay, I gave up all my desires, and, they're seeking things like enlightenment and whatnot, and they can't get there because they're still desiring not to desire, which is a selfish, not that it's bad, but is yourself saying, I want this because this is going to make me happy once I get it. So let me go back a little bit. Now, there's nothing anyone could tell you to do to gain any more mental. So most people are, if we go to like, happiness and things like that, most people, whatever they do, they're doing it because they think it's going to give them a state of mind that they think is what they want. And usually that's a state of mind that is, that doesn't have a lot of mental pain and like worry and things like that. That's really most people just want peace of mind. They might not realize it or say that, but in them doing what they're doing, they think they're going to get it, or else they want to do it. The issue is nothing in the field of play can give you peace of mind, because you'll be chasing these dopamine peaks. Anything you do, because you're desiring peace of mind. So anything you do is to be, getting these dopamine hits. So even if you get something, you're going to get it. Again, there's that little bit it's like a little drip, but those drips do not turn into ocean of satisfaction. And that's all I can even say. Like, you know, I could say, you know, well, do some personal development stuff and, you know, then you'll figure it out. But that's me telling you what to do. And you're going to run with that and say, okay, if I do this, then I'll be happy. And that's you chasing the high again. So you can't chase the high. If anything, happiness is, if there was a happiness or a state that one wanted to attain, it's really found in giving up the need to have it. And you can't do that either. Because if you try to give it up, then you're saying you want it.
Yeah.
So fucked up.
Mind blowing.
Yeah, it's really fucked.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful thing too.
Yeah.
Anyways, and I feel like half of the people listening right now are like, wow, this guy ate way too many mushrooms in his life, and the other half might be intrigued. And they're both right.
They're both right.
They're both right.
All right. Well, at least you admit it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, this was great, man. I really enjoyed having you come on and talk to me about, you know, everything, you know, from your experiences and, you know, starting and running this business and all this stuff. I mean, we went deep dive into some crazy things.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No. It's all good. It's
like,
good. Yeah. It's like a different perspective. I've never really had anybody on the show that's really talked in these aspects before. So it's a little new, fresh conversation.
Yeah. I like having good conversation with people. I think a lot of times, you know, people talk and it's very like, it's exterior talking. Whereas like I like to get to the point.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So back to Fit AF and the meals.
Yes.
How can someone buy the meals? How can someone learn more about you guys online?
All right. So if that, you know, having listened to this, if it didn't turn you away from us, you can find us at fitafnutrition.com. So that is where you would order. Again, if you order before Friday at noon, we'll deliver it to your house Sunday. And we deliver all over Northeast Pennsylvania, working our way south, Lehigh Valley, that area as well. Outside of that, Facebook, Fit AF Nutrition, Instagram, Fit AF Nutrition as well. I'm on both of those. My email, in case you had any questions, I love chatting with people. Especially, you know, if you're struggling with something like weight loss or just wanted to chat in general, Jordan at fitafnutrition.com is my email.
Very good. But don't send hate mail.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, definitely.
If you guys hated the show, don't email Jordan.
Don't contact me.
Yeah, don't email Jordan. Don't email me.
Yeah.
Just go on your merry way.
Yeah.
No, man, this was cool. I appreciate you coming on and look forward to trying that elk.
Yeah, totally. I'll get you some.
Yeah, you know, hook me up with some of that. So, all right, man. Jordan Galasso on the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door Studio. Thanks for joining me. If you want to see more On the Stacks content, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/onthestackspodcast or search the hashtag #OnTheStacks on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. We'll catch you next time on The Stacks.